Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Talktor Who. I am here. Oh, by the way, my name is Link. I am here with Light.
Hello.
Jen.
Hello.
And Moose.
Howdy, folks.
Again, Jaxman was not able to meet us today, but that's okay. We are going to be reviewing Dalek, the very first episode with a Dalek.
Dalek.
Yes, very nice. What did everyone think about it?
Should we do a summary first?
Let's do a summary first. Thank you for always reminding me about the summary.
Of course.
Jen, would you like to do the summary this time?
Not really, no.
No?
That's a lot of pressure.
All right, Light, you're really good at doing summaries, so how about have you round this one up again?
Great. All right. Well, this episode begins with Rose and the Doctor showing up in a completely random place, which happens to be a extremely significant place for the series in a few years, but that's not a summary of this episode, that's future. But they're in Salt Lake City, underground, in a alien-ridden zone, which happens to be a sort of museum for a rich snob who happens to like owning very expensive museums. So this rich snob happens to have captured a Dalek, and the Doctor realizes this and proceeds to scream at it for much of the episode while it slaughters everybody within, and then it decides that it doesn't want to kill Rose, and Rose survives and convinces it to let other people survive, and then the Dalek kills itself. That, in a nutshell, is this episode.
Right, I think it's good to note that the reason why the Dalek didn't want to kill Rose was because Rose imprinted some of her DNA onto the Dalek. So the Dalek became part human.
Indeed.
In that aspect. And the reason why it eventually died was because it felt the human DNA. So, yeah, I absolutely love this episode. I think this is really the first episode that really has both feet. Has both feet.
Feetsies.
Has both feet planted in what Doctor Who really is all about. At least personally for me. Funny story, I actually started Moose on this episode, and she hates me to this day for it.
Exactly. All I could think about was, why is this man so angry towards this alien? I don't understand. Why is it shouting at him? And so because of that, I did not want to watch Doctor Who for a very long time.
I kind of blame myself for that.
You should blame yourself. It's entirely your fault. But the important thing is that it eventually came around full circle, and you started me off on an actual good episode eventually. Actually, I think the episode where I really started to enjoy Doctor Who was Blink.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one. And then from there, I continued to date you so I could watch the next episode of Doctor Who.
And yet you throw that in my face once again.
Well, as I previously... as I stated in the previous episode.
So you really related well with Rose's attitude in this episode. Why is everyone mad?
Yeah.
Exactly. I didn't understand, and I'm like, Rose is the only person that has her head screwed on straight in this episode. I mean, she clearly knows what's going on. This girl knows what's up.
Mm-hmm. What about everyone else? What did you feel about this?
I love it. I love the Daleks. They're my favorite villain
Really?
ever. Yeah. Their little shape and their little voice, they're absolutely terrifying. Once you actually think about them, and the fact that they hate the entire world and are very, what's the word? Prejudice.
I was going to say racist, but yeah.
Racist, prejudice, all of the above. But
yeah.
You can always count on them to be a little tin box with a little blue light.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. That's very true. I heard a review at one point from someone I follow on YouTube where it said he said that the episodes where there's just one or two Daleks are a lot more interesting to him than episodes with thousands upon thousands of Daleks, because
definitely.
you know what happens with thousands upon thousands of Daleks. You know, the Doctor's going to win. But if there's only one, then it becomes like a one-on-one battle.
Oh, definitely.
And it's more interesting, especially for the storyline. Mm-hmm. What I think of is Daleks in Manhattan, that episode where there's only a few Daleks.
Is that the pig episode?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
You know,
good episode.
I kind of think of this episode as a foreshadowing of what is to come with the Daleks, since they do have that first interaction with human DNA, and that this episode allows them to feel something else besides pure hatred.
Yeah. That's true.
They're able to feel fear. They're able to feel compassion, and that right there, that is truly astounding.
It's true. It's very true.
I think that's a really interesting theme that, I mean, I think every time we see the Daleks, they mention that, the contrast of hate versus basically emotion, almost like the film Equilibrium or something, like trying to rid yourself of all emotion eliminates not only, like the doctor or the Dalek said, he's like, once he got emotion, he got ideas, but he also got darkness, and that just kind of their summary of humanity in that way is really interesting. That's something I really liked, and like as a continuing theme with the Daleks.
I also like how the Dalek has an existential crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
What am I? What do I do?
What
You're
else
Jean
is
Valjean.
there?
Well, I think it's interesting that they say that their Daleks don't have emotion whatsoever, but they still have hate. Which I suppose may be a little bit stronger than regular emotions, but I don't know. I don't really understand that thought process of, well, they don't have emotions, but they can still hate. So I guess engineering, they've been engineered that
Thanks
way.
a lot, Davros.
Spoilers.
Confusing.
I think it was interesting that they foreshadowed Cyberman, and he called the Cyberman an old friend before he called them an enemy.
Right.
It's like there's nothing more than other than Daleks as like the quintessential enemy of the Doctor.
If you had to choose, Link, between a Dalek or a Cyberman, which one are you more afraid of?
That's a very good question.
Actually, this is I want this question to go around the table.
Well, I think okay, so if I was in the world of Doctor Who and I was confronted by one of the two, I would be more afraid of the Cybermen personally, because you get assimilated into their race, whereas with the Dalek you just die. So that's what I say.
Likewise, I would much rather face off against a Dalek. Find it incredibly less terrifying than just a Cyberman.
Same goes for me. I'd rather die than be turned into a monster.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, so
Moose.
bunch of Cybermen are we?
What would you do?
Oh, well, for me, the Cybermen have always definitely inspired more fear. Because, as we will see in the next series, with the mischief that David Tennant gets in with the Cybermen.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well,
him and I'm blanking on the name, the guy after Tennant. Wow.
Matt Smith.
Matt Smith, thank you. Yes.
Oh my
Him and Matt
goodness,
Smith
they really
get
get
deep.
through the ringer
yeah.
with the Cybermen.
But
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Although we can, you can say that for David Tennant's Doctor, the Cybermen are definitely his enemy during
that's true.
his entire run. And Eccleston really has this going on with the Daleks.
Right. That's very true. That's very true. Van Staten is a character that you just love to hate.
You mean a tool?
Yes, that's another word for that.
Can you really call him a character?
No.
Let me just go see what's in the shed. Oh, look, it's Van Staten.
That was good. I like that.
Thank you. I thought of it myself. Which
No. Yeah, I think he is a gigantic tool. But it's one like he did his job well. Like he was there so that you would be upset with him.
Exactly. I think I gotta say, the actor that plays him, he has a great American accent.
Oh, he's not actually American?
Well, I don't know. I assume that he's not because this is filmed in Cardiff.
Well, I suppose at this point they don't have the monetary budget for bringing people over.
Well,
They
right.
don't actually fly to Salt Lake City.
No,
Go
yeah.
underground.
Yeah.
Sorry to burst anyone's bubble, but as
Oh, man.
I understand how the movie industry works, they probably did not fly anyone in, and in fact, probably with this entire with the entire show, I can't imagine them actually flying anyone in, unless it was
maybe,
like a
maybe
big
later.
name.
Maybe later.
But like it'd have to be a big name
Yeah.
for them to actually bother flying them in, because with the British equivalent of SAG, I'm sure is very similar to our own here in America, and they're cheap. They won't no budget restrictions. So
I loved the one English kid that they're like, yep, we're going to keep him on for 2 episodes, so not going to have him fake an accent.
yeah,
Yeah.
We're just going to keep him as the English kid.
Yeah. I could see it going one of two ways. One, he couldn't do a very good American accent, or they wanted that as a quote-unquote love connection with Rose. Because, they're both British. Yeah.
If they're both British, they should fall in love. Blah, blah, blah.
Obviously.
definitely
That's how
how
that
it
works, right?
exactly.
Of course.
Well, if you go anywhere and you're like, this person is also from this place, you should both have babies.
Right.
That's how anybody...
You're from this country? Oh my goodness, I know this person. Do you know that person
Yeah.
too?
I once went to this one wedding with that country. Oh, you must know that person that got married.
No, I
No,
don't.
no.
They live in California.
On one hand, I really enjoy the Doctor's reaction to the Dalek. But on the other, I feel like even for the Doctor's standards, he was super mean to the Dalek. Especially because this is our first interaction with Daleks. If we didn't already previously see the
Right.
Right.
Downright
old
vicious.
style. Yeah.
I mean, there is like seething anger coming from the Doctor, and we know him to be, a
Very level-headed,
yeah,
usually.
a pretty nice guy. He can see things for what they are and control his emotions. But with this, he just goes off the wall.
See, for me, I thought this made him a little bit more believable. Because in the past,
Really?
he's always been like this kind of puppy kind of a person that's just like, oh yeah, sure, like, let me solve this problem. And I'm not really bothered by anything. And finally, we see him get angry about something. And like,
That's very true.
just like, he loses this like godlike stance of impartiality and just like gets bitter and rageful.
So are you saying this episode makes the Doctor more human?
Ooh. I like
Yes.
it. I like it. Well, that's another reason why I liked that reaction, too, is because it did kind of give you a glimpse into a side of the Doctor that you haven't seen yet.
Oh, and I want to bring up that is this the only episode that we will ever see the Doctor with a gun?
No.
No?
No.
Is there another
the
one?
Crash of the Byzantium, he has a gun, too.
Oh, okay, I couldn't remember that.
And I'm pretty sure that there's a couple of other episodes, too. But, yeah, he's been, especially in the first couple of episodes, he's a lot less angry about guns.
Yeah.
Especially with Tennant and Smith. They both do not like guns.
Harsh stance of no guns
No guns.
whatsoever.
No guns. Let's see.
Can we point out how many people died before the fact that he actually told them how to defeat the Dalek with guns? Because there was
Yeah.
an entire room full of people before he's like, oh, by the way, you should probably aim at the eye.
And then the guy is like, "Oh, I think I know how to kill a tin soldier." Like, okay, well, first of all, let's actually trust the guy who knows what the name of the tin soldier is.
Yeah.
He's killed 100-ish people so far.
Yeah.
That have all been shooting at. Like, I don't know if that soldier just wasn't briefed on what was happening, or
Although, did they actually have the access, or did they have enough power so they could communicate with them that were lower down in the bunker?
Well, at that point they did, but later on, maybe not.
the Doctor was communicating from the top floor. They were only a
Right.
couple floors. I don't know.
Because for a while I feel because the Dalek had just like absorbed everything,
Yeah.
and so I wonder if they still weren't on backup power yet, and to give them the capability of communicating. Hey, aim for the eye stalks.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I get it.
Why
Yeah.
they didn't. I don't know.
I had a note. Oh, stupid Rose touching the Dalek. She was explicitly told not to go anywhere near the Dalek, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry
She
for you."
doesn't follow
That
directions.
counts.
She never has. Yeah.
What counts as too close?
Rose has a lot of compassion, and I would like to bring up that at the beginning of this episode, she finally asks a good question and asks, "When are we?" Mm-hmm. Way to go, Rose! First smart thing I've heard you say.
I thought it was really interesting that her first thought again, well, not quite again being the first thought, but again, she first thinks of herself Like at the end of the world, she was like, "Oh, I'm dead. I would be super old by now." And her first thought,
I'd be
first thing that she
26.
says, I'm 26.
Yeah.
I
In
think
this episode, I'm like, I honestly don't believe I would think of that
I think for
At
her,
least, especially not not the first.
first. Yeah,
I think for her, she's trying to put herself in this actual context of what year it is, to help her try and understand
yeah.
when in the world she is.
That makes sense. Makes sense.
I can definitely see her trying to wrap her mind around it via that way. Like, oh, I'm not dead finally. Or
Right.
I actually have been born and I'm surviving. Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
That's an interesting perspective. I remember when I first saw this episode, I wasn't all that impressed with it for the most part. I mean, because it's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, it's a good episode. It's a very good episode. I did like it. But the actual Dalek itself wasn't very dangerous to me, even though it killed all the things. It's like, really? It's like, it's slow, so you can just run from it. And it only has one little shooty beamy thing.
One whisk.
One whisk, yeah.
And a
one whisk and a
plunger.
plunger. What are you going to do, plunger me to death?
yeah.
Yeah, actually, I am.
Exactly what he does.
But one scene that really got to me when I first saw it was the fire sprinklers and how the Dalek used the fire sprinklers
goodness.
to electrocute like everyone on that floor. Like, oh, okay, now I know that this thing means business. That's what really did it for me.
It got down to business to defeat
The
Huns. Everyone's.
Everyone's.
Huns in there somewhere.
His quote or his comment, the Dalek's comment, "You would make a good Dalek."
Whoa.
That means a lot more now that I've seen all of the other episodes.
Right.
Well, and he starts off with "We are the same" too. Like they're really pushing on that from square one.
Let's see. You said something about the Rose not using her tongue anymore this time.
Yes. On a scale of 1 to 5, this episode, 1 being the best and 5 being the worst, she did an outstanding 1 for the
Ooh.
first time.
Way to go, Rose.
She didn't use her tongue to show an emotion at all. Finally.
Although I wonder if she did at the like when the camera wasn't on her,
Oh, maybe.
because she did a lot of flirting in
Deleted
this
scenes, that
episode.
kind of stuff.
If you could call that flirting, yeah, that was really awful flirting.
Really?
Oh, so what do you think of the people that have claimed to have been inside a spaceship? Because I'm one of them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I would like to note that I'd like to start keeping a running tally of what color sweater the Doctor is wearing.
Isn't it black?
No, you wore a green sweater this time.
Oh,
Or as I actually wrote, a green jumper.
green jumper. Yes, of course.
Because I was being British.
I like this jumper.
A green jumper.
The question that I had for this episode was, they barely had enough power to close the bulkhead doors in the first place.
Thank you.
How did they have enough power to open them back up?
Because it's the Doctor and he can do whatever he
Bulkheads
wants.
were a terrible part of this.
Yeah.
You couldn't. Like the Dalek is so slow, like you were saying, and so far behind them. There's no way you can wait until they're safe, or
Right.
that made very little sense in this episode.
Right. And then at the very end, we finally see what the Dalek looks like. The original flying spaghetti monster.
Do you know why we see what the Dalek looks like?
Why is that?
Because victory should be naked.
Yes!
Is all I
By
could
the way,
think.
we are making merchandise with that on T-shirts and mugs and however else we want it. So
I would like to create a piece of merchandise with a Dalek, exposed from its metal casing.
Like
dirty.
But no, I wanted to have like sunscreen on part of its face and with, a single sunglass covering its one eye and like on the beaches of Hawaii, just laying out and with like a little coconut drink with an umbrella. Just having a great time, relaxing.
How do we know that would be a Dalek though?
Well, because we see the Dalek, we see its actual person, and I see him laying on a beach somewhere. Maybe it's Fiji. Maybe it's not Hawaii. Maybe it's Fiji. But with, like a nice exotic drink, having a good time, after a very long time war.
We'll talk to
Rescue.
I
Jax.
was waiting for like a punchline or something. But
No, I
so
don't have
was
a
I.
punchline.
we could put words on there like how does it feel or
Yes.
something.
Yes. How does it feel? But honestly, I just, as its little tentacles, we're just like playing in the sunlight. I'm like, I just want you to be on the beach somewhere. You're so cute with a sunglass.
Really? You thought I was going to say, oh, okay, with the sunglass, I could see that, but it's like,
It
no,
needs to have
that's
sunglasses.
That's not cute.
No, it needs to have sunglasses and some sunscreen because
Okay.
sun care is very important, people. SPF every single day. I don't care if it's winter. No matter which hemisphere you live in, you need to have sunscreen on.
Sun care.
Thank you for that.
Mom.
You're welcome. This has been brought to you by Coppertone. No, just kidding. It hasn't been.
Let's not get into legal trouble on that one. Anyways, okay, so at the very end of the episode, the Dalek blows itself up, basically, for lack of a better term, or
does it?
exterminates itself, or it looks like it did. And the thing that I thought was that's probably the nicest way for the Dalek to destroy itself, the way that it did, because it had its little orbs and the orbs came off of the creature and shielded everything else while it exploded. Or did it? I'm going off of the fact that it probably did. I think.
But yeah, I mean, it could have killed everybody, and they
Yeah,
threatened
that's what I thought. It's like
later.
it could have detonated the entire facility. Why did it not? Although I suppose it was having questions of, who am I? And
Emotion.
Yeah.
It was quote unquote contaminated
yeah,
with
that's very true.
feelings.
It's very true.
Nasty, nasty feelings.
I do have to bring up before the end of this, the thing that we've all been skipping over for a very good reason is my least favorite thing in the entire episode is that torture scene with the doctor. There's no reason for any of that. There's no prologue to it. There's no wrap up of it. There's no moving from something else to the torture scene. It's just a laser looking at his hearts. It's like that was a terrible scene that did not belong in any kind of storyline.
Although for us mere mortals, we finally learn that the Doctor has two hearts.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
That is true. I guess that would be really the only reason why that scene really makes any sense.
Yeah.
Although I don't feel like you said, I don't feel like it really needed to happen in order to see that he has two hearts.
Yeah. Not at all.
Yeah.
And it didn't have to be a torture scene.
Right.
They could have nicely done it.
Wouldn't
could
have been as
just
exciting,
scanned him.
Oh, here's the doctor in what looks like half of a bed sheet and just laying down in front of an x-ray table.
Well, gotta say, Christopher Eccleston, dad bod.
Did you say dat bod
No,
or
dad.
Dad
Dad.
bod. He does have a dad body.
As in father, dad bod.
He probably is.
Just needs a polo and golf clubs. And
One single golf glove.
Golf utensil. It's like a Swiss
think
Army.
of the names,
A
yeah.
Swiss
Scottish
Army knife with
hat.
golf.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do have to question, though. Rose goes, "Where is the doctor?" And rather than going to find the doctor, she goes straight towards the Dalek. Like, I don't know. She knows things are going poorly, but rather than find the doctor, who is an alien who is with a guy who likes to collect alien things, she seems a little bit more worried about this unknown
the
matter
Dalek, yeah.
than the doctor.
Well, when in doubt, trust the alien. Don't trust humans. Trust the alien.
I think it would have been an interesting scene change if instead of like what you're saying, she goes straight to the Dalek, she goes straight to the doctor, and then both the doctor and Rose have that scene where they're in the chamber, and then she touches the Dalek, and everything happens the same way. But I think that would be an interesting option. I think, yeah, I don't know,
Yeah.
Or the doctor would have died.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Just-
then we would have gotten to Tenet that much quicker.
I don't know, but you said the Doctor would die, and then I thought, oh no, then the series would be over.
No, that's not how that works.
Then that other guy,
I forgot.
that other guy really didn't do much in that scene. I agree. Like if the doctor was there, it would have been a much more interesting scene because
Yeah.
the English kid just didn't. He just stood there.
Right.
Then after she touched it, he's like, "Oh wait, no, don't."
No, don't.
Oh, no.
Thanks, Willy Wonka. No, stop, please.
Well,
Don't do it.
that's fine.
All right. Any closing remarks on this episode? We're a little early, but that's all right.
It stood out to me that the Doctor uses generic human terms when he refers to things, such as he referred to the Time Lords as my people, which technically they're not people. They're not at all. And like, I don't think that would be a term that anyone would use habitually outside of Earth. So yeah, it's a writing thing, but it's also, I find it interesting that was, I guess, overlooked or not thought through, just because I can't think of a way in which it makes sense. I've been trying.
Right.
Like, I don't think he would ever say that. Maybe the TARDIS translation matrix, that was my only suggestion. But
That's
I
interesting.
mean, it does sound better than my race is dead. That kind of a thing. My people, my race. Like, I don't know.
yeah.
I feel like he says my race at one point, though.
That's true.
He might. I don't remember, though.
Although, is this a good time to point out that not all Gallifreyans are Time Lords?
Are they not?
No.
They're not? Mm-mm. Spoilers.
Or is it?
To me,
Okay, how... I didn't know that, actually. I don't think.
Yeah, no, being a Time Lord is something super special to be actually on Gallifrey. And just because you live on Gallifrey does not mean that you are a Time Lord, at least from my understanding of some of the things that I have read on the interwebs.
On the inner blags?
Yes, on the inner blags.
Interesting. So what's the difference?
This is when my memory is going to fail me,
Oh, okay.
and you're going to ask more specific questions, and I'm not going to be able to answer them.
But I want to know.
And then I'm going to look stupid, and
No,
then I
that's
regret bringing everything up. But
No, that's not what I
just
meant.
because you're from Gallifrey does not mean that you are a Time Lord. Although, because you do point out that he says "my people," Light, I would like to counter that with, Rose says in like the first episode of, "But you look human," and he says, "You look Time Lord." So, maybe that's something that's been passed down because of the humanoid appearance
Perhaps.
with the "my people" line.
They do have like a thing later where those trying to be Time Lords as well they stare into time itself, and some of them don't make it. So I mean, I would say that might be part of the change or the difference. Like those that can handle it, they're like, "Oh, you're a Time Lord." Yeah. Nope. Sorry.
Interesting.
Sorry.
Jen? No.
Oh, Jen.
Jen, do you have any closing remarks on this episode?
I have to say, for all Rose's faults, she is really calm in the face of death. That was something that stood out to me. Like, she didn't whimper, she didn't beg, she just, like,
Do it then.
you haven't killed me yet?
Yeah.
Come on, stop playing with me here. And she is really caring. Like, she takes time to mention to the Doctor, it's not your fault. So, I don't know. I just thought that was incredible for a girl of 19.
That is very true. She is very mature for her age in that regard.
Agreed.
All right. Well, if anybody else has anything else to say, we can wrap this up.
I would love to wrap it up. I have a very rowdy dog
Yeah, you do.
on my hand.
Yeah, you do.
That is biting me.
All right. Well, thank
Nicely.
you. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to this episode of Talktor Who. We'll be back next week with... What's the new episode name? Do we remember?
Oh, no. I don't. No, I don't.
It's the one with the news station
Yeah,
and
with
the
the editor.
creature.
That's right.
in the top.
Well, we're gonna go with that for right now. This has been Link,
Light.
Jen.
Moose.
and thank you all for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.